Today we're going to create user forms for data entry. So we'll begin by going to insert a user form. Now that user form has the name of user form 1, and that's also the title that has the caption. So we can change that to be something else, like data entry form as an example, whatever you want. And it appears there on the title. The next thing we're going to do is create a text box. We'll just draw ourselves a rectangle text box. It's called text box 1. And we can go name that, but change that, but we're not going to. We're going to create a second one, which will by default be called text box 2. Maybe I'll just adjust the size a little bit there. So it's called text box 2, just good to know. Now those would be helpful if we have some labels. So then we'll choose a little rectangular area for a label. Now that has a caption on. It's called label 1, and the caption is label 1. We'll change that caption to be something like name. And then we'll put in a second label. And again, it's called label 2, but we will rename that caption something like age. Okay, so then we're going to move on to get a couple of buttons. The first button there happens to be called Command Button 1, and it's got a caption of Command Button 1. I can change that. I'll rename it something like Add Data. And we're going to get a second button called Command Button 2, which will put a caption there of Quit, because this is the button that's going to stop the program. Now when I take and look at the properties of that, I see I'm going to just write userform.hide. That will actually end it right there. Another way I could have just typed end. I don't know. I just do that for old programming practices, but I don't really need that. The add form, I will go in and view that code. Now what I'm going to do there is going to be a little bit more complicated. I'm going to first go to cell A1. And from there, I'm going to want to get down to my the active cell. Now you notice I have a misspelling on value. I called it val by accident. So active cell, does that say C1? So active cell dot offset 1, 0. So dot range A1 in parentheses dot select. So what I'm going to do is, while the active cell is not equal to nothing, it'll go down and find the next cell. So that'll get me to the correct spot. And then once I'm there, the active cell's value is going to be equal to whatever the userform.textbox1.value is. Again, I have a misspelling there on the word value. You see it didn't pop up. I also have one on user form, so I'm going to fix that. And then it appropriately capitalizes. And then I'm going to take that user form 1 textbox1.value and set it equal to nothing. So I'm going to empty the value in that text box. Then I'm going to go active cell.offset. In other words, I'm going to move 1 to the right. So it's going to be a 0, 1 dot range A1 dot select. And then the active cell dot value is going to be equal to the user form 1 dot textbox2 dot value. and I'm going to take that user form 1.textbox2.value and set it equal to nothing again. So that's what's going to happen on my command button when I click on that. Now, when I go into here, I'm going to first create myself a form control, a little button, the sheet, and that, of course, has button 1 is its name, so I'm going to go through and create a little macro for that when you click on that. I'm just going to say user form 1.show. That's all I have to do for that. And of course I'll give it a different name, like maybe data entry. Data entry form. So I hit the button, put in the form, put in somebody's name, put in somebody's age, hit add data, and I get my error message. Why? Because I got a misspelled word. See, the word value is misspelled. So then all I got to do is hit that little blue square there to stop this and fix that word. Of course, I have a second one that I'm going to, when I hit the next one and type it in a second time, we're going to also find same thing. Hit debug on that again, same problem. Fix the word value. So it's easy to debug these when you make these errors. Of course, all I had to do is pay attention and I wouldn't have had the error in the first place. And now when I go in here, put in first name and hit add data, I got that. Put in the second name and the age, hit add data. Everything's working just fine. And then I can hit quit. Perfect.